confident we hold the right skill sets to develop, deliver and roll out this project in 2023. I'm at the final stage of completing my postgrad in Leading Good for Change, which includes enhancing leadership skills, systems thinking, risk management and social impact analysis. I'm also a trained counsellor and have many years' experience in community and environmental spaces. Our team also includes a climate scientist who is also a brilliant connector through rural and urban communities, as she is part of both. She has experience in community-led change like catchment groups. We have a behavioural scientist, a senior policy analyst, youth climate education advocate, educators, facilitators, communicators that bring much experience in climate change, behavioural change, mental health, education, and communicating complex issues in plain language. So through training people how to talk about climate change, we are embedding a culture of climate action. Our participants will return to their homes, neighbourhoods, wider communities, and have agency to pull together the different strands to work on local-led solutions. We are pleased to see that some of the other applications share the same synergy, supporting the people and communities to talk about and work on our shared problem. Now to my favourite part. I have actually seen the value and power of starting conversations and relationship building through my husband's mahi at Capital Kiwi, the team who successfully reintroduced Kiwi to the back hills of Wellington last month. What I admire most about the project is how they've pulled together this really incredibly eclectic and diverse group of people through many years of conversations over fence posts in the community, halls, kitchens, driveways, wall sheds, to gain broad buy-in from the people, including those who would not typically be viewed as conservation allies. They listened to the concerns, the worries, the fears. There was lots of back and forth. And in the end, Capital Kiwi fostered a strong sense of community pride and ownership in the project that was abundantly clear at the release. The community owns this project now. So Let's Talk Climate aims to do the same, bringing people and communities together, taking pride and ownership of Council's Te Atukura First to Zero Climate Action Plan, that the emissions reduction targets become our targets, not just Council's. That the people of Poneke take ownership of these targets. That is powerful, the same as taking pride in becoming the most climate-friendly capital in the world. Now, thanks for listening, and I'll hand over to Rhiannon to share her perspective.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Rhiannon Mackie Tokungawa. I'm an environmental and climate advocate, and I've worked locally, nationally and internationally on campaigns for climate justice. I work to bring youth into environmental policy spaces to provide them with not only a seat at the table, but the tools, resources and skills they need to participate as equals. I'm here in my capacity as youth partner working alongside Parents for Climate Aotearoa in developing this program, specifically on the youth branch. A triple planetary crisis is unfolding, an intersectional crisis with impacts on every aspect of our lives, and climate advocacy has become one of the trademarks of my generation. We are grieving a world and a future that is changing because of environmental destruction we have not caused, and despite the climate strikes being powerful learning moments, we have no ongoing space to talk and to learn about the climate crisis, to find solutions, to build communities. To work towards a truly climate just future, rangatahi have to be able to talk about and implement climate solutions. We have to not only be at the table, but able to engage as equals. And to do that, we have to have a deep understanding of the crisis we face. We need the space to find our roles in addressing the climate crisis, to coordinate with other youth, to build our solutions. All of this is what this program aims to provide. Many rangatahi could not stand here today and talk to you about these issues. They don't know how to access these spaces or how to engage meaningfully once they're here. It's a story I hear time and again from youth when I speak with fellow climate advocates or give talks or attend conferences. The message is that there is a gap here, and that gap is what the co-designed youth aspect of this program will fill. And it cannot just be youth on this journey, it has to be everyone. This story is shared across generations, and youth have limited power in society to affect change. When we empower not only rangatahi, but our parents, grandparents, and wider whānau to talk about climate, to understand this crisis and to engage meaningfully with the solutions, then we will see change brought faster, more effectively, more collectively, and in a way which works towards the safeguarding of our collective future, a truly intergenerational approach. I have lost my childhood to the climate crisis growing up attending meetings and actions and conferences, and this is the trade-off that I have had to make because the rangatahi have to be a part of our efforts to address this crisis. Our lives and our futures are on the line, and for the rest of our lives, we will be affected by policies and solutions that are implemented today, so we have to have a stake in them. And it is my hope that if we get this right and if we empower those communities to understand how to affect meaningful change, how to engage with climate solutions and how to implement those solutions in the ways that work for them, then future generations of rangatahi will get to experience the childhood that I have missed out on. And that is why I am here. Solving this crisis comes back to people, to empowered, engaged communities. And as a young person who has spent 4 years working to empower other rangatahi to engage in these spaces, this is me asking you to include us and to support this program and the skills and the resources it will provide us with, because we need to be here. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Rihanna. Thank you, Rihanna. Got there. So that's the end of your presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Matthews.
Kia ora, Alicia and Rhiannon. I guess, the panel noted that this is kind of a big ramp up for your work. So just tell us a little bit about how confident you feel about being able to deliver it and what that means for your organisation to ramp up in this way.
I feel super confident. This is my wheelhouse. Anyone that knows me knows I have been banging on about this ever since I entered the space. Talking at and to people has its place, but there's very little talking with. And when you talk with people, you can achieve great things. As you know, over council, you have to talk with each other, listen to different perspectives. You may not always agree, but you achieve a general level of consensus. And I think this is really important moving forward, that we bring people along and that people take ownership of Te Atakura. That will be really powerful. Because that means potentially less pushback towards council's ideas.
Thank you.
Councillor Winera.
Kia ora kōrua, thank you very much for that. So just going through your proposed budget here, I noticed the lion's share of the requested amount to the order of $48,000 comes from project management wages. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so how was the hourly rate decided? Because I noticed, and also on that same line, how was the number of hours decided? Because I noticed that those are respectively $40 an hour and 1,200 hours.
Yes. So we have given the same pay rate to our collaborators, our student, our youth coordinator, and we worked on basically working in kind. So this would be a full-time position. So if we're doubling the hours, then that's half of the hours done. And bearing in mind, I've worked on this, researched it, got it to this point, built relationships, unpaid for the last 4 years. So I feel like that in order to respect myself and the integrity of the program, that,
Thank you.
Okay, well, we're pretty much on time there, so thank you very much for your presentation and coming here today, and to Rhiannon online.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, next up we have Sarah Mills from the Seeds to Feeds Foundation. Sarah, welcome. So I'm sure you heard me last time, 10 minutes maximum, but don't feel you have to hit the maximum. It's like
Awesome.
a speed limit.
Great, thank you. I'm a first-time visitor here, so hoping that I don't either rush or cut it too short and get everything across. So, tēnei koutou katoa. I'm Sarah Mills, and I am what I call the kaitiaki of the Seeds to Feeds Foundation. I also call myself the steward sometimes. So there were some slides. Are they? Yeah, I just want to have a look at them while I go. Thank you. So the Seeds to Feeds Foundation was founded 4 years ago by a collection of friends who saw a gap in the Wellington market for an approachable, accessible celebration of local kai. I joined the program a year and a half ago, and at that point we were looking at what Seeds to Feeds could be, and over the past 12 months it's become very clear after the impact of COVID-19 the role Seeds to Feeds can play in our community. Cool. So Seeds to Feeds kaupapa is to connect people around local food. It is a event-based organisation that, how do I do this? There we go. Cool. So we run a program of events, or we facilitate a program of events that is predominantly community-led, and with the most part of our events running through the spring and summer being the warmer months. So we start with getting everybody together, form a picture of how we might want to celebrate local kai in our community, and then we move through this cycle of stages of events. So at the moment we've been hosting a whole lot of seed and seedling swaps. Basically the aim of these is to give space for people to have conversation around growing kai, have access to seeds, seedlings and other information in a way that is completely open, accessible and enjoyable. We then also pair these with huis, where we get together with different collections of people in different communities throughout Te Whanganui Atara to start planning what kind of events they want to see happen in their community, or what aspects of their community they want to celebrate that's already happening. And then as we come through towards March, we do more planning, we get into gardens, we get into preserving classes, we get into cooking classes, we connect people through different events, we do a whole lot of stuff. And then come March time, we have what we call the harvest celebration time, and that is where everybody gets together. We put on huge community meals that are open to everybody, and we basically just celebrate, because what's local kai without celebrating? So when we talk about local kai, we are talking about everything from produce grown in local community gardens, produce grown in people's backyards, produce grown in balconies, maybe it's grown by kids at school through the Garden to Table program. We are talking about things that can be foraged in our community and helping people access knowledge about what is foraged and what is safe to eat through our community. It could be things that are made in kitchens and shared with neighbours. It could be something that has a connection to a place or an organisation that is then shared out to the community. And then it is also, local food is also whatever we are sitting down to share together. So my job as the Seeds to Feeds kaitiaki is to support the local food doers, engage with the local food champions, and to bring on local food supporters. So when we talk about local food doers, we have everything from backyard growers to people who are just interested in eating local food, to people who are really passionate about mushrooms or anything of that like. When we talk about local food champions, it's people who are already connected to the space and already kind of, you know, looking at markets, looking at where their food comes from, supporting and celebrating and that kind of thing. And then our local food supporters obviously are the people who are willing to fund us and help us do this mahi. So when we started, we were originally just a year-round program, a summer-long program, and now as we've moved a year and a half into me being on the team, we're going to a all-year-round program and looking at better ways to connect and support community through local kai. So for me, that looks like stronger partnerships with other organisations working in the space. So we have amazing relationships with organisations like Garden to Table, the Wellington City Housing team, especially Alex Hunter, and working with her as an incredible human being, Kaibosh, BGI Wellington, a whole lot of other organisations that are moving forward in this space to create a stronger local kai economy or a local kai systems. So when you look at Seeds to Feeds, we often think about the different layers, or the lasagna effect or the garden effect of what we're doing. So at the top level, you've got this series of amazing events. And this summer, we're looking at anywhere from 40 to 50, if not more, events happening all over Wellington. And they are things like workshops in gardens, learning about planting, learning about seed sowing, learning about preserving and extending the life of our food, learning how to use surplus food in ways that makes it more nourishing, all sorts of things. And then from that, what we've found is that people are feeling way more connected to their community when they step into a safe, open, inclusive space to learn together. They've got access to knowledge and their community in a way that maybe they didn't have before. They are meeting new people that they perhaps wouldn't have connected with because they're all getting in, they're generally doing something physical together that brings them together, they're sharing some delicious kai, they are hanging out and they're achieving something as well. And then you step further down and there's a deeper level. What we're actually doing is facilitating a stronger Kai resilience system in our communities. So by creating spaces where people can grow together, for example, we are umbrellaing 2 new community gardens that are opening up very soon, actually in this area. There's going to be an orchard across the road. And by working with people to get more people involved in community gardens, we're actually creating space where there's a deeper, more connected food resilience. The knock-on effect of what we're doing carries on and on and on and on when you look at community engagement and the needs of the community and how people are then beginning to support each other. That's one of the things I can go on to, but I'm very cautious of leaving time for questions and how quickly this has gone. So, yeah. Does anybody have any questions for me?
So, Tasnika, so Councillor Winera, number 1, and then Deputy Mayor Foon.
Kia ora, thank you for that. So in examining the grant requests, I note that the request is for a contribution to the coordinator's salary to support the festival, is that correct?
That's correct, that's for me. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So it's a summer festival, is that correct as well?
So we have what we call the March Celebration Festival, so that's the Harvest Festival, but actually the community engagement and the workshops and the knowledge-based activities are all year round, and we are starting to build out our winter program because Kai resilience needs to happen through winter, not just through summer. So it's to expand on what we already do.
I see. And so for how long, I suppose, will this person, or yourself, be working?
Until people kick me out of this organisation. This is literally my lifeblood. I was sent this job being like, this is your personality, and I'm deeply believe in Kai security and people growing their food. I have a background, I'm a chef,
awesome.
And it just is me. So I've taken it on, and I can't let go.
Awesome. So, sorry, I guess the point of my question is, so is this, are we contributing to like a year's worth of salary?
Yep.
Sweet,
Yep.
cool.
Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Deputy Mayor Foon.
Kia ora, Sarah. Thank you for coming in today. Can you just describe the diversity of the community that Seeds to Feeds is attracting, given we've got a lot of food festivals like Wellington on a Plate?
Yep.
So just the difference between how this festival compares to that in terms of audience.
So we're connected to an incredibly diverse range of people in our community. We pride ourselves on being a really open and inclusive space. Our events don't cost people anything. So the main aim for us is that everybody can be included and invited. So through partnerships, we're able to connect with people who live in our city housing complexes. We work with our tamariki. We work with people who maybe might be at risk, and we make sure that there is a support network within every event so that every single person can come along. It also gives space for intergenerational relationships and space for everybody to learn together in kind of the same level. So what we found is actually when you come to an event, you see the range of diversity that we have. Does that answer your question? Cool.
Great. Well, if there are no other questions, and we're pretty much on time, Sarah, thank you very much for your presentation and taking the time to come and see us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd now like to ask Jenna Williams from the Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Jenna, and Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Pagani. Right, so you've heard maximum 10 minutes, but we're happy if you cut it shorter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Kia ora koutou katoa, ko Rina De Tene, and I lead the Programs and Learning and Development team at the Wellington Chamber of Commerce and Business Central. So what we have done is we have come together as a group here today. Jenna is our sustainability advisor who's led and created much of the project that we are continuing this year. So we do have some slides, so we'll just start with those.
Atamaria, everyone. Thank you for having us here today. As Rena said, I'm the Sustainability Advisor from the Chamber, and we wanted to walk you through a bit about our pilot project that we delivered this year, and then the key learnings that we found from that and how that's influenced what we've put together for 2023 and presented to you guys. We will run through the budget at the end and obviously have time for any questions. This whakatauki on the board here is the one that we use across all of our learning and development, and we think it really reigns true to what we're trying to achieve with this bootcamp as well, is really give businesses the opportunity to learn and get the information that they need to start on their sustainability journey. A bit of background about us. So we are from the Wellington Chamber of Commerce as well as Business Central, and our purpose is to support, facilitate and represent businesses. We have been a Carbon Zero Toitū certified organisation since 2016. We've done a lot of work in reducing our emissions and now are really keen to get into that influence piece and try and bring our members along as well as other businesses in the community. So we did run the 2022 Sustainability Bootcamp, and this was a pilot project where we had 2 cohorts, one in June and one in October, 25 businesses in total, and we produced a program that supported them to get started on their sustainability journey. A key outcome from this as well is that we've created this community of climate action champions. The businesses are still meeting. We actually had a meeting just yesterday, coming together to talk through challenges and successes and how those businesses can help one another. So a bit of an outline of how the program was structured. There was 6 different sessions, 3 were in person, 3 were online, and this happened over 3 weeks. So session 1, in the first cohort, we had a bicultural understanding of sustainability from our Te Reo Māori teacher. Participants really enjoyed this session and got a good idea of all the different perspectives of sustainability and how going back to that Te Ao Māori approach is really key. Session 2 was from the Sustainability Trust. They did a piece on implementing change in your organisation, so how to take a systems approach and ensure that the change you're putting forward is going to be taken on board by the team. ECOS came in for 2 sessions. Their first one was a general overview of the climate and carbon basics, and then their second session at the end was more on that carbon reduction piece. So between those 2 sessions, the businesses were encouraged to go away and interact with their online free carbon calculator and get an indicative result of their carbon emissions. And then that second session, we put together a bit of a plan for their carbon reduction. Session 4, we had EcoGeek come in for an online webinar, and they also looked at some low carbon solutions for the businesses in the cohort. And Wellington City Council came along to give our businesses an idea of what a sustainable Wellington City future looks like. So over the 2 cohorts, there was quite a range of different businesses. You can see them broken down by industry here. And we think this represents Wellington quite nicely. There's a real diversity in the type of businesses that are here. So we were happy with the range that came along for the bootcamp. A bit of feedback from the first 2 cohorts in the pilot study. You can see that with some further refinements after cohort 1, we actually changed the format of the flow of the session, so changed some of the session orders around so that it flowed better, as well as some of the content, and that actually resulted in people's expectations being met more fully and people feeling more empowered to get started on their journey. And also you can see the increase in people likely to recommend this bootcamp to others. So we've had these businesses already go through, and we know already that a lot of them are interacting with their suppliers and are keen to get them along, or other businesses that they work with. They found this a really good starting point, so are keen to tell other people about it as well. Just some comments from the previous cohort up on the board as well, showing that they really did enjoy the sessions. So kind of the key point, I guess, of today is to show those key learnings that we got from the first cohort, from the first pilot study. So we've changed the program flow, as I said, to allow the content to flow better. We're keeping the same delivery structure, as people really enjoyed that online and in-person approach over the 3 weeks. The content we're going to continue to review and ensure that it is tailored for each business and relevant to their industries. In 2022, unfortunately, COVID and staffing shortages had quite an impact on businesses actually committing to the program, because, as we all know, it's been a really tough time, especially for SMEs in this space. So we plan to expand the reach of the program and include other geographical areas so that we can invite more businesses along. That follow-up group as well, we're continuing. We had a lovely closing ceremony after each of the cohorts, and that was a really great opportunity for businesses to network amongst themselves and other businesses in this space. So as I said, we are expanding the reach, hoping to include Porirua, Upper and Lower Hutt as well, ensuring that more SMEs in the wider Wellington region have access to an affordable sustainability program. We are going to put together some case studies to showcase the impact that the pilot program has had, and we really think this will encourage other businesses to get involved as well. Our partnership with Te Awe and the Wellington Pacifica Business Network has formalised and continues to develop, so we're really keen to promote even further through these networks as well to get their businesses on board. And we already do have some commitment from businesses to attend the 2023 bootcamp. Businesses that were really keen to take part in this pilot program but couldn't quite do it for whatever reason, they're already keen to sign up for the next year. So we have included a budget in the slide deck as well. I won't kind of go through it item for item, but if there's any questions after that, feel free to let us know. But yeah, overall this bootcamp, we're really hoping to provide people with the knowledge and tools that they need to transition their workplace towards a sustainable future. We believe there's real tangible actions that have been created. They already have been created and will continue to be created, especially quite measurable ones with the carbon calculator being used to see people's emissions now and then slowly work towards more sustainable futures. Is there anything that you two want to add?
Yes, just you will notice from our budget that we have made a smaller application than we did in 2022, and that is because of our wider reach. We are reaching out to the Upper Hutt and Lower Hutt City Councils and the Porirua City Councils as well, who have approached us about this. So our application, the numbers are slightly different because of that.
Thank you.
I did have a point of just conscious of time. If anyone had any questions, I wanted to.
I have a list of people who have questions, Mr. Pagani. The first one is Councillor Matthews.
Kia ora, and thank you for coming in. I remember when you last came in, and I think it was via Zoom, we had quite a robust conversation about the tension between the objectives of this program and the some of the advocacy of the Chamber. And I'm just interested, as a result of having run the pilot, are you seeing any kind of shift within the organisation, the kind of issues you hear about from members, or the kind of, and how is that impacting on the position of the Chamber in terms of climate action happening in the city?
I'll take that one. Yeah, thanks, Rebecca, and we did. I thought it was a really good conversation as well. From my perspective, there is definitely, this has broadened our reach a bit, it brought in new points of view, which are always really valuable. Our advocacy is always a kind of a combination of the input we get from our members. A couple of points I wanted to make about the broader program is, the top issue we're getting from businesses, and you'll hear this from people right across the board, is the rising cost pressures on business. And this program, as much as it is a form of a climate program, it's also a cost of living program, because the cost of carbon is about $85 a tonne. If you reduce that, that's 4 hours of wages for someone. That goes a long, long way, but the smaller businesses and a lot of our members don't always have that kind of pressure, or don't have the kind of resources to be able to make those changes. The other thing as well is that there's a big desire in business to capture the kind of new emerging green economy. And that's something that we're increasingly hearing, and whether that's kind of related to everything from electric vehicles to broader senses of how we do that. Like, there's a real desire for that, and that is coming through right across the board, I think.
Okay, so we are ostensibly out of time, but because I'm feeling really kind, we have two more questions. We have one more question. Deputy Mayor Foon.
Kia ora, and Jenna, apologies that I couldn't make it to one of your sessions, but I'm really interested and thank you for the update on how it went. My question is, it's slightly, it's similar, it is hard for councillors to want to support the business community with public funds, that's one of the challenges we have. But in the long term, is there the ability to provide, because we want to see this program grow, do you think there's the ability for the Chamber to be able to finance or find a way to resource this yourselves as you go along in your progress on this?
I think as we further progress, there is that possibility in the future, but not immediately, because we haven't built up enough resources around the programme, but also the reach isn't wide enough yet. And if you notice from our budget, one of the key things we're trying to do differently this year is take the case studies from those participants and turn them into, I guess, video footage and things like that we can use as a promotional tool to those larger organisations who often approach us in some ways about supporting climate change for the smaller organisations. So we're not at that point yet, but we will get there one day. Thank you.
Please come back and update us on how you go this year.
So thank you all for coming this morning, and it's great to hear how the program has developed over the year. Thank you very much, and see you next year, I guess.
Thank you.
So I'd now like to call on Hilika Townsend from, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Is it Ikarua? Yeah, Ikarua Rebicycle. So welcome to the table.
Apologies, we've just got tachycardia, so it's hard for me to stand for long periods of time sometimes.
No, it's absolutely fine.
Had a big day on Saturday.
We're all sitting too, you
councillors
might
know,
know.
so still recovering from that. Tēnā koutou katoa, he kaitiaki takumahi ki Ikarua Rebicycle, ko Hilika Townsend tōku ingoa. So I'm speaking in support of our application to the Climate and Sustainability Fund, as all the people who have preceded me have, and there's some really cool projects there, which is awesome to see. For the new councillors, I'd just like to let you know what it is that we do. So our core business is that we collect donated bikes, our volunteers fix them up, and we give them out to people who need bikes and wouldn't otherwise be able to afford them. We've been doing this for about 6 years, and last weekend we celebrated having given out over 2,000 bikes, which is, I don't know of any other organisation in the world like ours, which is mainly volunteer-led, that has reached that number. So it's really significant and shows the generosity of people in Pūniki. We also have a cargo bike library, which the council is funding. We also are working on an e-bike project to help people on low incomes get access to e-bikes, which the council is also supporting. We run a lot of kids events, events in schools, bike rodeos. We have a portable pump track. So we create lots of opportunities for kids to ride and challenge themselves and just get out there and get active on bikes, because we know that there's lots of benefits for kids to do that. We also have a regional facilitator who supports all the bike libraries around the region, because we're in a really strong position here in Pūniki. We get a lot of donations and a lot of support, but we know that people in other areas aren't quite so lucky, so we help support them. We have a mobile bike workshop in an electric van, first of its kind, and because of the work that we've done there, there's also another electric van up in Porirua with our partners at Uso Bike Ride. So we've got 2 electric vans driving around the region now, fixing bikes up, which is really cool to see. And hopefully at the end of this week we will have a mobility truck, electric truck, because we're trying to move into the space where we can support people who are living with disabilities. Obviously I've got a little bit of personal experience of that now, and I realise that not everyone is able to ride a normal bike, so we're trying to help people who might need a trike, recumbent bikes, and those sorts of things to help them to be more mobile. So that's pretty much what we're doing. So we started off just by giving bikes to people, particularly from a refugee background, and we've expanded to offer a whole range of services. Obviously that keeps us really busy, and at the moment for the past 5 years we've had one coordinator who was paid for 5 hours a week to run all of this. The rest of it has all been volunteer hours. Our trustees have given a huge amount of time, and that might be why I'm walking with a walking stick right now. No, probably not. but it's all it's all there. We're all willing to give this time and happy to do that because we love the work that we do, and we love seeing the smiles on the kids' faces, on the parents' faces when we're able to help people get a bike. So our coordinator of 5 years has stepped down. She's got some other cool opportunities, but we're seeing this as an excellent opportunity for us to transform the way that we work. And to try and become more sustainable. I'm hoping that this might be the last time that I come to the council asking for money. We really want to transform the way that we work. We've got a really cool workshop now, which the council has also supported us with up at South Wellington Intermediate School, and we want to be able to start selling bikes to attract some sponsors and to attract more donors. We have a steady stream of regular donors who help fund our coordinator's role, but we want to upscale all of these areas so that we can become self-sustainable. I know it's keep timing out. So the plan is that we would fund a role for just 1 year, about 20 hours a week, and that a huge part of that role will be to fundraise, to seek sponsorship, and to make sure to put in place a plan to make us self-sustainable, whether that's through selling bikes or creating services that are a bit more marketable. So that's what we've come to ask for this climate round. Obviously, there's a huge demand for people to have access to bikes and low-cost bikes and cheap and easy bike repairs. The cost of living is going up, and Wellington City Council's putting in some amazing bike tracks. So particularly around the southern and eastern suburbs, we're seeing a huge increase in the number of people wanting bikes. So we want to be able to support those people and make it easy for everyone to access a bike if that's what they want. That's it from me. If there's any questions.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? It's not compulsory. It's not compulsory.
Well, just what you've achieved on 5 hours a week with a coordinator and lots of volunteer hours, what are the key differences you'll be seeing with this increase in hours for a coordinator?
Yeah, so the main thing or the obvious thing for the community will be an increase in hours that a workshop will be open. So at the moment, we're open 2 hours a week, and that's a model that we've kind of held over from when we shared a space with Mechanical Tempest. Mechanical Tempest, they're still, after more than a year, looking for a space, so we're kind of filling that gap for them at the moment. So we'd love to have our workshop open on a second night during the week, and maybe during a weekend slot as well, so that it's more accessible for people during different time slots. Obviously, doing that means coordinating a lot more volunteers. So that would be the most obvious difference, is those extra hours that will be available to fix bikes for the community. Yeah.
I turned it off so you can't hear me sniffing and things. Helika, thank you very much for coming this morning and explaining it all to us. Thank you, everybody. We will now adjourn for morning tea, and we will resume at 10:32. 15 minutes, and just like you to know that I like punctuality, so we'll be starting bang on. Thank Hold on a second. Administration hiccups. Okay, so welcome to the main part of the meeting, the general business. So I'd like to start with the Arts and Culture Fund, and I'd like to welcome Andy Lowe and Grace. Hoshi. So Grace has been with Council 5 weeks, and we already recognise her around the place because she's having quite an impact. So thank you very much. Over to you.
Nō reira, e kui mai koroma, e reiranga tirema, ngā mātauaka, ngā paimaunga, ngā waia o te motu tēnā tātou. Ko tēnei te mahi ki Taranaki whānui, te Atiawa, Ngāti Toa koutou katoa, he mihi mahana kia koutou. Well, kia ora everybody, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having us. Really wanted to mihi to those who've been supporting us through this process and also to the wonderful Grace Hueti, as you know, who's just started, who's an amazing theatre practitioner in the country, throughout the country, and has just been nominated for a theatre award for Production Wednesday to come. I need to say that right now. So we're really excited about that. This process has been really robust for those ones who are new to council. I mean, I'm only quite new myself, actually. I've only been here a few months too, but the process is that we have a very robust panel. We have some very experienced arts advisors, including Grace, who work with us to go through these proposals and go through them with fine-tooth comb, really, to make sure that they fit council strategies, and ahotini is a huge one for us, and we're trying to align everything to those principles and strands, and we've been doing that for a few months. We're still socialising that with the communities and working with mana whenua and tangata Māori in general around those kinds of things, and making sure that people are aware that this process is here and that we have funding for the arts, and so that's a big piece of work that we're still working on. But I'm just taking this paper as read. We have had heaps of applications this time compared to this time last year, and we're very excited to see some new people coming through. So really appreciate your support, and happy to take questions. Nō reira, tēnā koutou. Kia ora.
Does anyone have questions at this stage?
So what sort of questions do we ask? Can we ask about specific things?
Well, you can ask, and Emily will tell us whether it's out of order.
Okay. So this is a very specific question, but I'll get it out of the way. Application number 3. So I can ask a specific question about a specific thing on the list. This is Choirs Aotearoa New Zealand. I personally feel that this is something which we should be supporting to the full amount of their request, because I feel like the benefit which we as a city get out of their activities is enormous, and our contribution is extremely parsimonious. And while I think it's great that we're giving plenty of money to the opera and lots of other folk who like to sing, for me, these guys do an incredible job. They're a great national organisation. They do fantastic work in Wellington. We've got a very vibrant school choir community, and I just don't see why we've cut them off and only given them a third of what they requested.
Oh,
Is that the sort of question I'm allowed to ask?
So which part is the question?
Why have we only given them a third of what they asked for, given how great their work is?
So how much did they ask for originally?
9,000. Would you like to answer that?
They're actually they're national choirs, and the component of the Wellington aspect is what we were looking to fund. All 3 choirs are national choirs.
No, I know, but they're based in Wellington. They come to Wellington for a lot of their activities, and also they support secondary schools choir as well, which draws obviously from Wellington. I just feel like Wellington is gets a major disproportionate benefit from them being based here, and given that I don't know what other support we actually provide them, whether this is the sort of be all and end all of their support given, but if this is their only benefit, for me, $3,000 for such a significant local treasure, as I would regard them, seems very parsimonious.
So could I just suggest that we have a 5-minute break just to try and sort this out now and before we move into the full debate?
Oh, sure. I mean, look, the trouble is this is my first meeting, right? So I'm not too sure what my role
first time I'm chairing, Tim, you know, we're blind leading the blind here.
I think it comes down to the amount of money that we've got to distribute, and simply we have to make some decisions around trying to spread it as evenly as we can to accommodate as many organisations as we can, really. So it's never an easy decision, really, to try and sort of meet everyone's needs. Some of the requests are considerably higher, but the team do their best to really try and accommodate where they can. So, yeah, that's probably.
So I think, Councillor Brown, we're moving into debate here. So what I'm going to suggest is put you on hold, but not stop you, just on hold. And I'm going to move the paper, and then we'll come back to that if that suits everybody. So what I'd like to do is I would like to move the motion for this paper, but I'm going to move an amended substantive, removing item 29 from the paper. Okay, so is there a seconder for that? Councillor O'Neill, thank you. So I don't really want to have any debate on it. I think we all kind of we're at one on that one. So now, just hold on a second. It's okay. Does anyone else have any amendments?
Madam Chair, I would like to move an amendment to 2.1, please. I would like to propose the following amendment to 2.1, that in addition to declining funding for the recommendation number 29, as mentioned in the amended substantive, funding for number 26 also be declined, and that items 12 and 28, which have already been increased somewhat, be funded at 13,000 out of a requested 15,000, and at 14,100 out of a requested 30,000, respectively, be funded so, for a total increase of $6,100 between the two, thereby effectively reallocating the funding assigned to 26 and 29 to the aforementioned projects.
So do you have a seconder? Okay, Deputy Mayor Foon is seconding that. Do we have any debate on this? Oh, your question, sorry. Councillor O'Neill. That was an Irish accent, I think.
Thanks. I'm just checking, Nico, is this what's up on screen, the proposed one? Just because I got a little bit lost there with the...
Sorry, there's...
Yes, but not entirely.
Would we be able to just have the amendment clearly on screen? Thank you, Emily.
Just take me one moment.
While we do that, could we get some officer advice on that proposed amendment? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's obviously that's you know it's what the council decide. We do have an option too, and that is that there. What we're going to do is when the community groups come to us, we're also going to suggest the 4.2 million that is available from the Ministry of Ethnic Communities, you know, as somewhere people can also go to if they're seeking funding for their project. We're not going to stop them because that's part of ahutini. You know, coming here, definitely not. But there was also that fund to go to, so we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Yes, I'm not clear if officers are supporting this amendment or not.
It's up to elected members to decide on this. The officers aren't opposing it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
So have we got...
I'm sorry, one moment.
So any more questions on this? Councillor Brown?
know this isn't the question. So if I want to change something, I have to put forward an amendment. Is that so? I could actually say that I'm happy to support this one, but I'd like the $3,000 to go to instead of what Nico's suggesting. I'd like it to go to the choirs. So could I have I'd like to put forward a contrary amendment to yours. I'm happy to have the cut, but to both.
We're talking about this is all new language to me too, even though I've been here 9 years. What you're doing is a foreshadowed amendment.
Do you have a seconder?
Can I second? I can't. No, I can't second it because I've moved the paper.
So I think it won't have a seconder, so it can't be foreshadowed, I think.
Oh, okay. So I can't. Right, gotcha.
Well, unless someone wants to second it. I don't want to second it. So.
All right.
That's right.
So,
can it be foreshadowed without a seconder?
Sure.
Oh, it can be foreshadowed, but it's likely to. We would need a seconder at that point.
Okay, right, thank you.
Sorry for not using my mic.
So if we move from that on, for me, my concern is if we are talking about communities can go to Ministry of Ethnic Communities, are we kind of setting up a precedence where we are saying to community organization, no, they can't come to Wellington City Council in some ways, indirectly?
Is that the case? I mean,
Councillor, no, we're not saying that at all, and I think that's what I was saying when I said that Ahotini is talking about inclusion and diversity, so we are open to that constantly. It's just that we'll also suggest to them, especially for the bigger projects, when they need a lot of funding, that there's also that fund to go to for those things. Yeah. So there's two avenues. Yeah.
The funding of community events. We do a lot of it across the year. I mean, the newer councillors won't know, but I mean, we do. The Polish people, we do Indian festivals, we do all sorts of festivals, and it's really quite a big part of our working to build communities in the city. So I don't imagine there'd ever be a wish to stop doing that.
No.
My question is, since I'm new as well, I want a bit of clarity. How do we decide one community over another in funding their applications?
What I think it also comes down to, first of all, how much they ask for, because sometimes organisations ask for very large amounts. It depends on the scale of the event. And also, I mean, the officers take into account people's track records, because some are really good at delivering projects, others are not so good. So I think, that's where the officer's knowledge is invaluable on this kind of thing. But, Andy and Grace, over to you to answer more fulsomely.
Yes, it comes down to a criteria that we have in the Arts and Culture Fund, along with Ahotini, and we rank them in a kind of way, and if they fall below a certain amount, then we can't actually look to support them. But a lot of the community ones, they often need help in other ways, not necessarily. It might be around our events team, and they might need support in venue and subsidies and things like that, so we can work with them in other ways.
Thank you. I think you're right, because in some areas we are voting against some of your suggestions, so that might be political decision, so I'll leave there.
Thank you. Right, any other, are we debating or are we questioning? Yes. Sean, thank you.
So, councillors, just so we can be really clear about the
questions right now, and then we take debate separate from questions, correct?
Yes.
Okay, any questions? Oh, it's stress. Any questions? No, so we'll move into debate. Okay, Councillor Wanera.
Kia ora, everybody. I'd just like to speak in support of this amendment. So I thought it would be probably helpful to provide some reasoning behind it. So in going through these grant applications, there is quite an unfortunate underrepresentation in both the recommended for funding and the non-recommended for funding options by Māori-led projects, and not just projects that happen to be led by a Māori person, but projects that engage constructively with Te Ao Māori, with Mātauranga Māori, and build our community within the city. So in noting projects Lemuria and the Pride Festival, based on my briefing from officers and my understanding of these two projects, they would have been funded to the full extent should the funds permit, and it is my belief that if we are leaving out funding from promising Māori projects and allocating them to other groups at the expense of tangata whenua, it's my belief that we are failing our commitment to Te Tiriti o Waitangi under our takai here obligations. So, as mentioned by our officers, the City Council already has many wonderful commitments to our multicultural community, and there are alternative funding streams for some of these other communities' projects that do not necessarily come from the City Council. The two projects that I would like to fund, namely Lemuria, as mentioned, and the Pride Festival, do show a genuine commitment to Te Ao Māori. So Lemuria showcases weaving, so rāranga, rongoa, traditional medicine, with Mātauranga Māori interwoven throughout. The Pride Festival, for its part, has a totally new approach this year, which kind of breaks from the traditional Western Pride model. It celebrates Māori Takatapui identities, it celebrates whāwhine identities as well from the islands, and has a number of seats on its board, as I understand, specifically, for mana whenua. And the entire festival itself is being co-designed with Māori as well. So I think the City Council needs to be bold and show leadership in this space and honour Te Tiriti, and also contribute to our queer communities with funding rather than merely with lip service. And it is my belief that this amendment to the proposed motion fulfills that obligation. Kia ora.
And Councillor Foon, you're seconding?
I reserve my right, thanks.
I will speak first, which is that I don't support this. I feel it's the Irish. A lot of New Zealanders have Irish ancestry. I have almost none, but it's a little bit. But they're a significant part of our community, and this is a great way of integrating their culture into our culture. And I just think it would be unfortunate timing that because they happen to come up in this round, that they get pinged when we have all through the year, we will have applications for similar amounts. And I just think what they do, they talk about the luck of the Irish. Is that good or is that bad? I don't know. Anyway, I don't support this. I feel it just seems vindictive against the Irish society. Anyone else like to speak? Councillor Matthews, and then Councillor Neil, was that your hand I saw? Oh.
Kia ora, colleagues. I think that I guess, in a somewhat different to Councillor Young, I do support the intent behind the amendment, and I think that if we need to examine the criteria of the grants fund in order to ensure, I'm well aware that the team, and within our hotini, it's a very strong intent to support mana whenua, to support Te Ao Māori kind of focused, Māori creatives, the whole kind of thing. But I guess I think that this is a little bit ad hoc, and I think this is probably not the way at this kind of meeting to ensure that intent is fully. I appreciate the intent. I think that we could maybe do a little bit better in our process in terms of how we get to that point. So I think that in terms of the in-depth work that the panel has done, applying the criteria across a variety of projects, I'll find it difficult to support this. And I guess I'm not generally a fan of last-minute amendments because it puts us in a position where we're making decisions on the fly. And that tends to, even with when I support the intent fully, that it tends to lead to somewhat the outcomes are not always as good as they could be. Thank you.
Councillor Brown. Councillor Brown.
Sorry, I'd just like to say I totally support the previous councillor's comments.
Great length of speech. Anyone else like to speak? Okay, so we'll now put the motion. Oh, sorry, yes.
Kia ora. I would like to just thank all of my colleagues for your wisdom on this. I think it's important to hear, but I do also want to, acknowledge Councillor Winera's mahi here, and I think it is about just really reinforcing what we're setting out to do. So I appreciate the intent, and for me, I think I will be joining my colleagues here in your decision, but I will be fully supporting the mahi that you want to go forward, and maybe that's something we can look at going through the next processes down the track.
Great, thank you. Yep.
Kia ora again. Once again, I thank my colleagues for your input on this. I would also like to thank the Chair for her superb transigence in the reallocation of 29 to these two projects that I have suggested regardless. So I think that does represent a small win for these two communities anyway. So thank you very much.
Okay, so I will now put the motion, which is up on the screen almost. Oh, okay. So all those in favour, please press 1, and those who are not in favour. Oh, so can you please put the amendment up on the screen? Oh, great. So all those in favour, press 1. Those not in favour, press 2. Okay, so the motion has been lost. Five-minute adjournment.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is there any further debate on the substantive, which is, receiving the information, noting the fund criteria, and agreeing the list allocation? Councillor Wanera.
I would like to briefly just speak in my support of the Chair's proposed amended. What's the wording? Sorry.
I don't know.
The Chair's proposed amended substantive. I'd like to speak in support of it for the same reasons that I've given in my previous amendment.
Great. Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Deputy Mayor Foon.
Just really quickly to acknowledge some of the work, particularly everybody cool lives here. It's just really great to see this organisation coming back, and the work that they do is, in my mind, just mind-blowing. So really thankful that we've got them here and really keen to see them funded along with many of the others, but just want to acknowledge their mahi.
Thank you. Well, I do think, we are really fortunate in Wellington to have such an amazing variety of organisations putting on all sorts of fantastic events. So you'll be pleased to know I'm not going to go through them. So anyway, I think now we can just vote. Okay. Oh, so just 1 second before we do that. I think, Councillor Brown, we can't vote on it en bloc because there are two where you have a conflict of interest, which is number 23, third-party umbrella under Primordial. How do you say that word? Primordial. Thank you. Creations Limited, and also number 30, Daniel Nodder umbrella under Creative Capital Arts Trust, and the other one that you had a conflict and hasn't been recommended anyway, so it's just those two. So shall I take those two separately? We'll do them first, number 23 and number 30. All those in favour? No, these are the two you can't vote on. And once we get these out of the way, then you can come back to the table and vote your head off. So all those in favour of these two, number 23 and number 30, please, green button, not in favour, red button. So close the vote. So everyone's in favour, that's passed. So Councillor Brown, welcome back. So we'll now go to the rest of them on block. All those in favour, please say, no, don't say anything. Please vote with your green button. All those against, red button. And I'll talk to you later. Right, unanimous, that's what we like. Well done. So we're now going to have a slight reordering of the paper because Councillor Wanera has a big event, his graduation. I speak as a dropout. We're now doing 2.5, which will be introduced by Councillor O'Neill. Sorry, introduced by officers, and then, I'll get there eventually. And welcome, thank you very much. And is Raven here?
Raven is online.
Ah, okay, great. Thank you very much. Would you please introduce the report?
Thank you. I will take the report largely as read. I just wanted to say a couple of things about the purpose of this fund. This is our second year.
Can you just move the mic nearer to your face? Oh,
how's that?
Oh, yeah, I was looking at the other one. That's fine.
Better? This is the second year of us running this fund, and it's a testament to the hard work that Raven has done, and I think the enthusiasm of this city that we had such a high level of applications for this round. It's been really exciting to see. The first year was a bit of kind of trying to find people who might want to apply, and this year we've had a flood of really high quality applications and a lot of really well thought out proposals. So I just wanted to acknowledge Raven at the very start, who's very sad she can't be here today. We've recommended funding 6 of the applications and allocating the full amount in this round because we had such high quality applications, and so we won't have another funding round until early the next financial year. Those applications I'm really pleased to see, and they represent work with a variety of different audiences and different communities across Wellington, and using a variety of different techniques to create climate action and change. So I really feel confident about the spread of how we're investing this money, that we'll get some really interesting conversations and activities going across the city. We've also there are several other applications that we liked as well that are in further conversations for later. So one of those is KaiCycle, an organisation we've given grants to in the past and are supporting in other ways. They're currently sort of reviewing how their strategic approach. So we have suggested that they come back in future funding rounds and to other funds when they finish that process that we are supporting them with. The other one I wanted to mention was Rongotai College. We've had positive expressions of interest from the Kilbirnie Business Improvement District. They've been looking for this kind of initiative to support, and it looks likely that they'll support that one, so that's quite gratifying as well. So yes, at this point, any questions?
Deputy Mayor Foon.
Kia ora, Alison, thank you. Can you just clarify, so we're actually spending all of the amount for this year, so will it be the next financial year that we'll be reviewing this at the same time, so next October 2023, or will that be earlier?
October.
Okay, kia ora, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Neal.
Yes. Thank you, Alison. Just as what kind of kaupapa Māori lens or specific expertise frameworks have you looked at the panel around recommending or prioritising things?
It is part of thank you for the question, Councillor. It is part of the assessment criteria and the criteria of the fund that we look for those opportunities, and that each application is assessed on that criteria. We have in our review panel Kapua Smith, who is a sustainability expert, currently a partner at KPMG, specialising in Māori partnerships and strategy. And so she brings that expertise to our review panel for us. Raven and I were talking about this the other day. We don't feel that we've had the applications from our mana whenua that we would like, or from Māori-focused initiatives. So we are making that the focus of Raven's networking and work in the next year. We're also at early stages of our relationship with Ngāti Toa and with Taranaki Whānui, so I'm hoping that out of that will come some good ideas as well, and that we'll be able to usher them through the pipeline and into this application process. So yeah, there is a wide diversity of communities within Wellington targeted by these applications, but you're right, there's nothing that's specifically Māori focused, which is a disappointment to us.
Okay, are there any further questions? No, so would you like to put the motion?
So I'd like to put the motion with
Amended substantive.
Thank you. Put the motion. I would like to put an amended substantive.
Is that okay?
Is that fine?
Yeah.
Great. I'd like to do that then, please. The amended substantive in this particular case is that number 9 be funded to $86,050 and that number 11 be funded in full to $8,000. This effectively reallocates $8,000 worth of funding for number 9 to number 11, and I will speak to that in support in debate.
Sorry, I haven't quite. So it's reducing the amount for number 9, and what was the other one?
11. 11 being declined for funding originally.
I don't. Which one is number 11?
Rongotai College.
Oh. Oh, I see. Thank you. Sorry. Do you have a seconder? Is there any debate? Oh, questions.
I would like to get some officer advice on that, amendment to the substantive. Thank you.
As we said in the last fund, obviously it's council's decision as to how you ultimately allocate the fund. This amendment is not officer supported as such. We think we have an alternative funding opportunity for Rongotai College. We also would prefer to reduce the funding for the proposals that have opportunities for regional reach, where we've already said that they are going to get co-funded from other partners, because that means the full amount of funding that they want to achieve, they can via other mechanisms, whereas Parents for Climate Aotearoa are only looking at activities within the Wellington City boundary. So they have not got other regional partners that they are pulling into this application.
With the discretion of the chair, can I just ask Alison, from the list of recommended full amounts, who else has regional reach?
Raven, do you want to speak to that? Sorry, Raven's across the details.
Very happy
much more
to.
than me.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that I can't be there in person today. I've just got a cough, so staying home. Thanks for your question, Councillor O'Neill. So in terms of the applications that have a beyond Wellington City focus, there's Inspiring Stories. So this is a national program that's being run out of Wellington, but with national reach. So they were one of the two that we should Councillor Venera's amendment go through. We were recommending that maybe funding be taken from them because they have the opportunity for national funders. Also, the Sir Peter Blake charity, again, is a nationally focused program, but being based in Wellington with a Wellington specific focus. But they will be piloting their program in Wellington with the hope of then launching on a national level. So again, they have opportunities for funding beyond Wellington City Council as well. And then in terms of more regionally focused, but within the Wellington region, there's Voices of Aroha. They will be doing some activity outside of Wellington City specifically, but they've already got co-funding for that activity, and we would be the sole funders for their Wellington City focused program. And again, the Wellington Regional Chamber of Commerce operating within Wellington City, but now looking to operate more regionally, so working with the other councils in the region. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Raven.
Right.
Are there any more questions? Councillor Brown.
This is just really in respect of the Parents for Climate Aotearoa. I think you've said that you are going to give them some of the money and then follow up after to see whether in fact they've spent it well. So I guess if the amendment went through, you could always sort of give them the first half and then come back. But what I was curious about is, how are you going to assess whether in fact what they're doing is effective? What sort of criteria are you going to apply to their work?
I'll let Raven speak to specific evaluation criteria, but the way in general you evaluate that kind of program is surveys pre and post that kind of intervention, looking at what their attitudes, level of knowledge was at the start, and what their attitudes and level of knowledge is at the end of the intervention. So it's kind of how you assess whether you've achieved the impact that you said you were going to achieve. Raven, did they put in a specific measurement?
They would be doing pre and post surveys with all participants. So exactly what you've said, Alison, measuring differing levels of understanding and confidence to be able to talk about climate change in a constructive way with whānau and communities. Also I guess the activity that might come from the program in terms of future initiatives that have been sparked from those conversations. So definitely the post and pre-surveys.
They provide that to us.
Yes.
Yeah. And in terms of the 2 tranches that we're proposing, so we would be doing a site visit with them and having reporting in the middle of the year before then releasing the second half of the money to ensure that any refinement to the program can be made and that we're across all of how the first tranche has gone.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're just sorting out just a procedural matter here. So talk amongst yourselves until I ring the bell, which will be in about 30 seconds. Okay, bear with me with this learning curve. So what we're going to do first of all is vote on number 11. Or no, shouldn't it be number taking the money off, because we can't vote on number 11 when there's no money there.
What?
We've got to vote.
Yeah, number 11 and number 9.
So number 9 first.
No, 11.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Matthews is my lodestar. So what we're going to do is vote on number 11, the funding for the Rongotai College project.
Have a debate first. Right.
Oh yeah, so let's debate. Who'd like to speak? Okay, Councillor Wignera, Councillor O'Neill, other way around. Questions?
This is a question of process. If this is the amended substantive, is it not now the paper, and will we not vote on it last? So are we not hearing any?
Yes, that's correct.
So we will vote on the amended substantive last.
Yes, but there's been already a request to take different clauses, take it separately.
Oh, right. So
yeah, so we're just clarifying that request.
Okay.
All clear?
Yes.
Great. Any other questions? Who would like to speak? Councillor Wignera?
Kia ora, everyone. Here we go, second time lucky, eh? So the officer's recommendations are very well noted, and I'll speak on my take on that in a moment. But in general, my bigger picture reasoning for this amended substantive is that whilst I am strongly supportive of community-led conversations to drive behaviour change, and I do recognise that that is in line with our Te Kura strategy, it's my personal belief that material, hands-on, deliverable projects form more lasting memories, particularly for youth, as in this case it is school children, and should be a priority for this fund. The selection of recommended projects for funding in this round are disproportionately educational and conversation-based, with the possible exception of one. And thus, from a bigger picture approach, I believe the work that these school children are proposing should be part of our funding approach this round. I would suggest that a deep practical understanding of sustainability and environmentalism can be gained by building food security, reducing waste, and increasing biodiversity, and also carbon capture as well, which is in there by planting, all of which are being achieved by the students at Rongotai College in this proposal. It's also my belief, having examined the proposed budget, kia ora Raven for that, and after speaking a bit more on the details with our officers, that it can be executed with $86,000, which is a lot of money. In terms of the officer's recommendations for pulling funding from alternative sources rather than this project, that is well noted. Thank you for that. I would say, however, that Parents for Climate also share opportunities to examine other revenue streams, and they are not unique in, whilst they may only at this point be seeking funding from us, that need not be the case in the future. And as Councillor Brown noted, they are receiving funding in 2 tranches. And there is opportunity for the exploration of other funding streams after their pilot program is completed, and they do not actually require the full amount to complete that pilot program. And I would also say as well that the 2 other projects that the officers have suggested we pull funding from do not necessarily, they represent more of a material, tangible climate and emissions reduction benefit than Parents for Climate Aotearoa has demonstrated in their application, in my view. Therefore, I would like to propose that we take this funding from Parents for Climate Aotearoa and give it to Rongotai College. Kia ora.
Councillor Matthews.
The seconder would like to speak. while I would love to be able to support one of your amendments, Councillor, I am reluctant to support this one also. And aside from my concerns about kind of last minute amendments, I note that the Parents for Climate Aotearoa project is geographically constrained to Wellington City in the ward approach that it is taking. And in addition, it is geographically constrained by its link to our policy, Te Atakura. So compared to some of those other projects, and I would also, I guess, note that while we are talking about a significant amount of money, with many of these other projects where there is a regional focus, we're not actually seeing the full amount of funding because it is not coming from us. So, and it has, secured other regional partners. And I guess I am also sort of swayed by the kind of officer advice that it's, that they are confident that the Rongotai College project will be able to secure other funding. So I guess on those concerns, I am reluctant to support the amended substantive and prefer the officer proposal.
Else wish to speak? Councillor Deputy Mayor Foon.
Probably that I think that I just hearing about the committee that we've got over an external overview of the funding and the decisions that they've made, and I appreciate the call to action and the physicality and the rangatahi, but for this one, I feel like I would like to actually trust what our externals have advised us, that they have looked over this in detail. So I won't be supporting. Sorry.
Okay, Sean, could you step through the process for us? Oh, so Terry, sorry. Councillor O'Neill and then Sean, hold our hands.
Okay. Look, councillors, I'm very supportive of this amendment today. I think Councillor Wenera has made a really good point around who and I guess the kind of people that are receiving this type of funding. And I guess I'd like to signal that even if this amendment does not pass at the table today, that I think we need to kind of really look at how these recommendations are formed. I guess as a climate activist in the past, we know that the most successful things are, and the change comes in terms of if a project is to be successful, it needs to be led and implemented by the group that it is interested in. So I'm really interested and inspired by the Rongotai College proposal because it is youth-led and youth-delivered, and you can't get any closer to young people than actual teenagers leading it themselves. Just to signal that I do think this is a great strategic alignment in the child and youth-friendly policy and Te Asakura. And it's fantastic to hear that the business district, KRL, are looking to support this, but KRL are also pretty new to the scene, and I haven't heard that from them, but we'll be very excited if we're able to make this project happen in the likelihood that this amendment does not pass. And then, just likely to thank Councillor Wenera for kind of coming into the first grants meeting with some bold proposals, and I hope that we're able to work with community and the panel and our climate change team to come with some solutions going forward.
Thanks, Ron.
I want to speak briefly because I think there's been a little bit of confusion of terms, so I just want to set everything out really clearly so that everybody knows exactly what's happening. So, Councillor Wenera has moved the motion on the screen here, which includes the two changes. So it's adding in the entirety of row 11 and it's changing the amount for application number 9. Now, it's not an amendment, it's a new motion that Councillor Wenera has moved, right? So when you come to vote, I understand that some people have expressed not supporting this change, but when you come to vote, you could vote, for example, against the inclusion of number 11, and then that application wouldn't get any funding. But to change, when you voted on number 9, you wouldn't be voting, if you voted no, it wouldn't revert back to the original amount because that hasn't been moved. It would just be voting to give them $86,050 or $0. So if the committee wants to fund their application, whatever it is, $94,050, then somebody needs to move and second an amendment to revert it back to that.
Can I do that if I've
who
spoken?
can do that are those who haven't spoken yet, which are councillors Young and Brown. So, no, it would just be an amendment, not foreshadowed. So if some people on the committee want to fund Parents for Climate Action $94,000, then one of those two councillors needs to move an amendment to that effect.
Say Achtung. Okay, so we're back here again. So where the hell are we? So we're now voting, what are we voting on now? Right of reply, thank you.
That should happen first. And then
Councillor Brown.
And vote on that.
Okay, I move a substantive amendment.
Just an amendment.
An amendment to effectively turn the Parents for Climate Aotearoa to the original management recommended figure.
Okay, and I'll second that. Do you wish to speak to it?
Only to the extent that I actually agree with all of your points, but I agree with Rebecca's more. Sorry.
Okay, well, I'm not going to speak for once.
Sorry, no, we go to the vote.
Move Brown, seconded Councillor Young. The following amendment: agree to approve applications as listed below to a total of $250,000 with these two changes. Number 9, Parents for Climate Aotearoa, $94,050 as was in the original paper. And number 11, Rongotai College, Grow Rongotai, no money. No, that's not right, is it? Okay. Okay, right. Yeah, yes, right. So do we have to speak on that, or we just go to the
Now
vote?
it's debate.
Okay, now it's debate. Oh, God, please make it short.
I will try and make it very choice. I would like to ask the mover of the motion if he would like to prevent Rongotai College from this $8,000, this small drop in the bucket worth of money, if he'll join me in advocating to the Kobuni Rongotai Lau Bay Business District to help fund this project. And then my second question to the mover of this motion is why does he support these two projects going off against each other. This is not what I thought. Oh, okay, all right, sorry. That's probably not appropriate. I guess...
Councillor O'Neill, I'm a bit confused what you're asking. Can you just cut to the chase?
Look, I'm simply asking the mover of this motion why they are moving this motion.
I mean, so I get the answer? I mean...
At the end with right of reply.
Okay, sure.
Oh, okay.
Keep going through different-
Thank you. Councillor Matthews.
I don't, these two projects aren't up against each other, and that's not why I'm voting the way that I am. I support both of them. It's about supporting this amendment is about taking into account the various funding mechanisms and also the officer advice that has led to this point. So I appreciate the reasons that went behind the amended substantive also and support for that, but have indicated previously my reasons why I will be voting for this amendment rather than the amendments contained in the substantive.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Speak. You can speak.
You can speak.
Yeah, I would just like to inquire whether any other councillors have actually read the project proposal and its budget, or have a particularly deep understanding of what Parents for Climate is proposing, separate from merely reading the officer's recommendations.
Councillor Winera, I'm not really very happy with that question because you're implying that the councillors don't read their papers. Well, actually, you're really stating it, maybe. So I'm going to rule that question out of order because, I assume that all councillors do their homework because that's what we're paid to do. And if they don't, then they have to look at the electors at the ballot box in 3 years' time.
Any further debate?
Okay, any further debate on Councillor Brown's amendment, which has been seconded by me?
Yep, we've got your right of reply.
Yes, right of reply.
I will meet with KRL at 8 o'clock on Friday morning, and I will make sure I ask them if they will support this initiative. So you have my absolute commitment that within 2 days I will have done that.
That's your right of reply? Okay. That has passed. Yes, it has passed. What are we doing now? We'll go back to the substantive. Okay, so here we are, a progress report. We're back to the substantive as it was initially. Don't feel you have to speak because Councillor Winera has to get to his graduation. So otherwise, I'll put the vote.
Right of reply?
Right of reply? No, okay, let's put the vote. Yep, it's up on the screen. Yes, green, no, red. Excellent. Well, so that's passed by a majority of quite a bit. Good luck for the graduation ceremony. Don't trip up when you're going up to accept it. Thank you very much. So we are now on to... Is it 2.3, social and recreation? 2.2. Oh, 2.2, living wage. Okay, so living wage. Okay, so Mark Farrer. So just like to welcome Mark Farrer and Stephen Blackburn. Thank you very much. To introduce the report, I'd just like to say, Mark is an invaluable person for advice at council. He knows everything there is to know about grants, etc. And Stephen has. You were at Capital E, weren't you? And you've been at council for a year.
Since March, but yes, you're right. I was at Capital E for about 11 years.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, welcome. So has anyone got any questions about the Living Wage for Events Fund before we move on to debate? Okay, so I would like Councillor Matthews to move the paper, please.
Oh, I made some notes earlier. I just want to thank officers for their work. Thank you to the recipients for their work and the effort going into applying. I note the significant living wage support and those kind of longer term arrangements with some of the bigger organisations. And I guess I just also want to note that, once again, Wellington City has kind of led this kind of work, and we see now central government kind of shifting their focus to ensure that creatives are being paid fairly for the work that they do. So again, the sort of influence of this fund is we're starting to see across the country. Kia ora.
Seconded by the Deputy Mayor Finn.
I am in complete support of Councillor Matthews' statements.
So now it's questions?
Debate.
No, so now it's debate. Does anyone wish to speak? Well, I'll tell you what, I will, because I completely oppose the council doing the living wage, because I don't believe that ratepayers should be subsidising taxpayers. This is central government business. However, I am only one voice, and the council has agreed to do it. Therefore, I will support this because we have agreed to do it, and I've forgotten it's kind of like collective responsibility. So I'll just have to suck it up. So that's the end of the debate. Sorry. Nuruddin.
Cool. Actually, this is really interesting for me. In 2015 and 16, I campaigned for living wage for the city council to become a living wage employee. 5-6 years later, I'm sitting here when we are making a decision for people even to employ and supporting them in that space. This is incredible. This is what we can do when we are united, when we are people focused. So I'm very proud of what we are doing, and I really support the officer's recommendation in this space and how far this council has gone so far as well.
Thank you. So I would just clarify, I shouldn't have said I don't support the living wage. I just don't support the council. It's like I've got no problem with people. They can have $100 an hour as far as I'm concerned. Good luck to them. Any further debate?
I'll take my right of reply if not.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Just to say, Councillor Young, you'll have your opportunity to reconsider this matter when it comes to the long-term plan. And we'll see how we go.
Right, so that's the end of the debate. Right of reply, we've had that, so let's vote. All those in favour, green. All those opposed, red.
There were a couple of others I missed.
Do you want this list?
Oh, sorry, we just had the
Yeah,
ones that
no,
were
there were a couple of
recommended.
others.
So you were moving the paper then?
It's fine. He hasn't moved the paper.
So I need to find someone else to move the paper, do I? Can Tim move the paper?
He's talking about this one. He's just come off the...
Oh, the living wage one?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. We can keep going. Yeah. He's abstaining.
I think somebody who's doing some fringe stuff is here.
Oh, I see. But you can't abstain if you're at the meeting.
No, I can't.
He's away from the... Yeah, he's fine.
Oh, I see. I thought he had to be. I thought he had to be. I thought he had to be in the Hutt Valley or something. Yeah. All right. So it's passed.
If you're in the room, you have to vote.
I thought it was away from the desk.
No, that's a conflict of interest, but voting you've actually got to be, because Councillor.
It's a conflict of interest, though, Sean. Yeah.
And that's fine.
2 absentees. Okay. So now, ageing fast, 2.3. 2.3, the Social and Recreation Fund. So I'd just like David Ensor. Hi, David. Could you introduce the report, please?
Kia ora koutou. I will take the paper as read and happy to answer any questions, but just some really brief comments before that this fund, the applications we received were significantly higher than the funding that was available, and that means that our recommendations are made with full consideration and a really robust process that relied on a kind of wide number of the team, their knowledge of the organisations that we work with, and a kind of full appreciation of the impact that our recommendations have or don't have on the operation of the organisations who are impacted. And we're pretty confident that the recommendations that we've made are the best recommendations to achieve the outcomes for Wellington and for the fund. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So does anyone have any questions? No? Good. So, Councillor Brown, would you like to move the paper?
I'm happy to do that.
Oh, sorry. You've got to be quick here. So a question from Deputy Mayor Flynn.
I thank you, David. I just want, I know we've had conversation about Kai-Cycle, so I just want to make sure that all councillors know that we'll be continuing. So how are we continuing to work with Kai-Cycle into the future?
That's a really good question. We have agreed to support financially Kai-Cycle through a strategic review of their operation as they've kind of grown. Kai-Cycle are a really key organisation in the city's sustainable food network, and they're a key part of the Sustainable Food Action Plan, which is in the final kind of final stage of edit, so it's pretty close. We're in regular contact with Kai-Cycle, and we've committed to continuing to support them and their operation outside of this fund as we go through that process with them and through their review.
Are there any more questions? Okay. Councillor Brown, would you like to move the paper?
I'm happy to move the paper.
And we need a seconder. Councillor Matthews, would either of you like to speak? Great. Oh,
thanks, officers, for their work.
Excellent. Another perfect length of speech. So I will. So I would just say, in this morning's paper, there was an article about Bellyful, which I think everyone should read. I haven't actually had time to read it because I was trying to get myself de-stressed for this. But they do fantastic work for young parents, which I was a wee while ago. So anyway, a right of reply, Tim? Councillor Brown? Debate. Sorry. Brief. Good.
Kia ora, thank you for bringing that up, Councillor Young. I was looking at your little article there, desperately wondering what that was. But I think what I would really like to speak to today are some of the projects that are coming up here, and that particularly around food. And just wanted to thank Sarah from Seeds to Feeds to coming in and thank the team. Just with Seeds to Feeds, I can't. Just the benefits that this has across our community are massive, and I'd say that it's like Wellington on a plate on steroids for normal people, and it's more connected to the environment. And I really encourage all of you councillors to get involved as your local Seeds to Feeds project pops up over summer, but it brings so much goodwill, community connection. It's about the food, but actually the ripple effect, and it has an impact. I think you could call it a neighbour's day around food. You know, it really does the work of pulling community together and showing that resilience. Also with Kai-Cycle, just thank you, David, for your feedback there. But once again, another important project for the city that food resilience, we're building that, and which it moves into a lot of other strategies, namely our waste strategy. But so just really want to let you know that we've got the food action network plan coming up, the Sustainable Food Action Plan coming up very soon, and all of these projects slot into that strategy, and so they're a really big part of the wellbeing in our community. Also, just want to shout out to Bench Space Charitable Trust, and it's great to see another opportunity, another way that council is partnering with organisations. And for example, this organisation is now being housed in one of our social housing sites in Brooklyn or in Central Park, and so this is a very exciting progress that also helps pull community together. So that's it from me. Kia ora.
Okay, Councillor Brown, would you like to have a right of reply? Excellent. So I will put the motion. All in favour? Against? Great. Well, that's passed unanimously. So now we are on to the waste. No, we're not. We're on to.
We are waste. This one here.
Okay, so why have I got Nico's name next to it? Who's introducing this?
Have the introduce it first.
Right. So welcome, Jenny and Chris. We seem to see you quite a bit today, Chris. Welcome. So would you please introduce the report to councillors?
Kia ora. So for those of you who I haven't met, sorry, my name's Jenny Elliott. I'm the Waste Minimisation Officer based out at the Southern Landfill. So this is the Waste Minimisation Seed Fund, over $2,000. I'll take the paper as read and we're happy to answer questions. Just one quick comment was just to say that similarly to David, the fund was oversubscribed and we have $75,000 available annually, and we had requests totalling around 158,000. So just so you know that we're recommending funding 3 in full and 5 in part, but of the 5 that were part funding, we did speak to all the applicants and had a discussion about whether the amount of money we were proposing was actually useful for them, and that has all been confirmed with them.
Any questions? Councillor Brown.
So why is it only $75,000 if the levy is 1.4 million?
So with the levy, every time waste is dumped at our landfill, there's a levy of $30 per tonne. That money is all returned to MFE, and then a portion of that money is returned back to Wellington City Council to spend on waste minimisation projects. At the moment, we have a total waste minimisation seed fund of $100,000. 25 of that is in a small pot, which is based on officer recommendations for projects up to 2,000, and then we have the 75,000, which is available for the larger projects. I think we've started discussion internally as well that once the new zero waste strategy is adopted, then we'll be looking at the funding that we have at the moment and whether it's actually appropriate and how we'll review it in line with the new strategy.
Are there any other questions? So, Councillor O'Neill, would you like to move the paper?
Yes, very happy to move the paper. As you all just heard, this is funding supplied by the Ministry for Environment, and it's taken from the landfill levy. Yes, yeah. Any details I had highlighted in the report you so eloquently introduced. So I believe Deputy Mayor Foon is going to second.
Great. And Deputy Mayor Foon, would you like to speak?
To acknowledge the great work aligning the funding with our zero waste strategy. Thank you.
Right. Now we move to debate. Any debate? So I would just like to say how much I love the landfill. I don't go there very often, but I delivered 6 months of green waste the other day with the help of my son, which was decomposing, not my son. And you know, the tip shop is fantastic. I bought 2 garden urns there for $12 each. I couldn't believe it. But the staff are so helpful and it's so well organised. So I'd just like to say thank you. It's really impressive.
Thank you. I'll pass that back to the team.
But I would just like to say that mainly I'm recycling. I'm not doing a lot of tipping. Just want you to know. So is there any other debate? That wasn't really debate. It was just, you know. So right of reply. Councillor O'Neill. Okay, so we'll now put the motion.
Councillor Matthews.
Councillor Matthews, have you forgotten how to vote?
No.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Great. Well, now our hard work is over because now it's Mr. Fell, as I like to call him.
Thank you, Chair. Chair Young. Okay, so this is the actions tracking report. We'll take it as read. There is only one item outstanding. That one is relating to the accessibility action plan, which we are working on now. Happy to take any questions, but yeah.
Sorry, Councillor O'Neill.
Just a quick Pītau. I know that the resolution passed last term by the then, Deputy Mayor Foon and I around increasing the Natural Environment Fund. I know mahi's been done on that. Why isn't ongoing mahi about making recommendations to the annual plan included in the actions tracking? Or would that be a forward work program thing?
I think that is a forward work program, actually. I'll see if Mark can answer that one there. Yeah.
Councillor O'Neill, we're working with PSR to develop some advice on the amendment that was taken to the minutes at the last meeting, so that's in progress. I understand there's some discussion about whether that comes into the annual plan or the long-term plan. So Mifanwi and the team are working on that at the moment.
Do we not do actions tracking and forward work program in the same sort of paper anymore, or is that paper not?
Yes, we will be doing that from here on in. We're just clarifying the forward program ahead of this meeting for next year.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you.
Who do I get to move the paper? Matthews. Councillor Matthews, would you like to move the paper?
I would like to move it, and you will be thrilled to hear I will decline speaking.
I'm into cheap thrills, that's great. Deputy Mayor Foon, like to second. Is there any debate? Put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Green, red, you know what to do. Another unanimous vote. Great. Okay, so just before I close the meeting, I would just like to say thank you for your patience and forbearance with your chairman, whatever the hell I am today, and a huge thank you to Emily and Sean, Mark, to all the officers who've given so much help today, and huge amount of work. Yeah, and then, yes, please. And as Nikau is not here, and so the next meeting is in February 22. Don't forget to wear sunblock during the summer. I don't want to see you looking too sunburned. And Councillor Matthews, could you do the here, please?
Unuhia, unuhia, unuhia ki te uru tapunui, kia wātia, kia mama, te ngākau, te tinana, te wairua, I te ara takatū, koi a rā e rongo whakairia aki ki runga, kia wātia, ai rā kua wātia.
Thank you. Dismissed.